2022, Emily Drabinski was elected to be the president of the profoundly influential American Library Association. She is a committed political activist, self-described as a lesbian Marxist who seeks to bend the world, not just libraries, to her own woke will. Here is her own description of one of her early jobs in a library.
This was one of those gay schools. I'm not sure if you have them in the UK, but at Sarah Lawrence, absolutely everybody was queer. Gender and sexual identity constituted the terrain of play.
Does this sound like an environment for diversity, one of the sacred pillars of the political left? Does it sound like Drabinski understands the paradox here? How can she? Her worldview is singular, self-obsessed, and totalitarian. Her college life and work environment were emphatically the opposite of genuine critical thinking and intellectual diversity. She surrounded herself, apparently like all the others in her daily life, with LGBTQ mirror images in an ideological bubble, an echo chamber for a very particular revolutionary belief system, and we can only wonder about the systemic prejudice and discrimination that led to such a one-dimensional, everybody is queer milieu, and what implicit, unrestrained biases informed and still inform the day-to-day functioning of that school and its library. We begin here because this kind of ideological clan, encompassing the entire woke far-left paradigm, as our evidence in a series of videos, is foundational to understand today's propagandistic American Library Association and what libraries are fast becoming.
For many of us, an interest in social justice and equality lies at the heart of what we do. We don't want to simply help students pass their research writing classes, although we want that too, but we hope for something larger. We want to transform the perspectives of students in our classrooms so that they can, for example, see racism and sexism at play and feel themselves empowered as agents of social change who can intervene in those isms for good. And I'm so looking forward to having a conversation about power. I think that this is the most important conversation any of us could be having in libraries right now, and I'm excited to have it with all of you. So if I want the structure of power to be different, if I want it to reflect my perspective, how do I get there, right? So organizing skills are about how do I compel the person in power to do the thing that I want them to do. So when I think about power as like the ability to get what I want, make what I want happen in the world. So what are we going to talk about today? I'd like to spend a little bit of time talking about libraries as structures that produce power inside of institutions. It's so nice to have a comrade in the room, a fellow squawk. All right, so I am here to talk about what we can do about the problems we've spent the last day and a half outlining and defining in 20 minutes. What do we do? What can we do? This is the question that dogs me. So I'm going to talk just for about 10 minutes about how I think about the politics of the library, particularly through the lens of gender and sexuality studies, since that is my field. To understand the library through the lens of power, through an analysis of power and an analysis of structures as productive of power and as ways that power circulates and doesn't in institutions, it changes the way we look at problems that we might solve.
How does leadership connect to your advocacy and activism work?
I mean, I see, I'm one of those people that doesn't have a whole lot of division between my inside and outside work. I have like an internal life, of course, but my advocacy and activist work has all been library related. So the American Library Association, I want to lead it because I believe it has such an incredible influence on the shape of every experience of every one of us who works inside of the library ecosystem. So ALA is 50,000 members strong, more than 100 years old. The Washington office does incredible work, moving legislation that benefits all of us. The Office of Intellectual Freedom, we see them taking on more and more challenges as the sort of climate around freedom to read gets more and more challenging. And so all of these big operations are things that I think ALA makes it, the most important professional association in libraries and maybe the most important professional association of its kind in the country. So as you're watching this, I'd like you to think about examples of structural power in your library. And I hope that we can spend some time talking about what those structures are.
Yes, by all means. Let's spend some time talking about structural power in libraries. I'm going to be addressing this exact issue in a series of videos about the American Library Association and so many hapless libraries under its heavy propagandistic thumb towards enforced ideological indoctrination. But I'm going to deconstruct the deconstructor, not the old power elite, but the new one, who and what has seized power in today's ALA in a way that Drabinski and her minions will probably be inclined to censor. Deplatform is one of today's euphemisms, because that is how power is used to maintain itself and its many tentacles in the American Library Association today. Drabinski is, of course, as both a Marxist and a self-described radical gender ideologue president, is herself the ironic icon for power in the library world today. Her far-left activist views on society and politics mirror the ALA's same advocacy views too. That's why she was elected. She's not alone in her veiled totalitarian posture up and down the library leadership ranks, and I'll be addressing that at this YouTube channel. The power structure in today's library world has been overrun and seized by far-left woke censorial ideologues, and I aim to evidence this and indict the many hypocrisies central to this change.
So the topic that I'll spend most of my time addressing tonight has chosen me. How do we understand the organized extremist right-wing attacks on our expertise, the efforts to dismantle what's left of our public institutions, and what will be required of us in order to win?